Well, it's been a few years since I did a video on my T80 boiler. It's a Munchkin boiler. I did a video where I showed how the failure of my swirl plate. It's behind that metal disc right there. That's the swirl plate. Today we're going to actually go in and take these screws out and clean the boiler. One of the areas that also often goes wrong on these boilers is at the bottom here, right under here, there is a hose. And this hose is part of the drain mechanism. It's also very critical to have right so that there's no backflow through here so that the boiler breathes properly. Here's the control module. And the other thing I'm going to do today is actually replace these corroded components. These are brass components. This corrosion apparently is caused from basically gas leakage. So historically, when I first took over this, this has kind of been the same for the last, for the last 6-7 years. It's caused from some escaping gases apparently. And if you notice here up at the top, there's a hole in the side. So I believe this is one of the main places where the escaping gas could have come from, but it's also possible that the swirl plate was causing an issue. So I do run a carbon monoxide monitor, and we don't really detect any issues, but always good to keep an eye on it. So this right here, this has a pressure relief valve. In the event that there's too much pressure, water pressure within the system, it can release. There is a vent pipe here that takes it out. We're going to actually be removing that today. Disassembling this and replacing it with the parts we care about. So yeah, this is the first step. Removing this connector. No real corrosion on the outside. Corrosion seems to be limited to the inside. Well, I turned off the ball valve that holds pressurizes the water to the system. Now in the process, I'm going to go ahead and take this valve apart. I have a new nipple, brass nipple, so I will not worry about the threads on this since I will be replacing it. So be a little careful with these wires here. Maybe I'll hold them out of the way while I do this. Maybe I'll move my controller too out of the way. I don't want to have to fix more than I have to. I will say these boilers they're really nice in many ways. The tanks are made out of they're stainless steel, so you don't have to really replace the tanks, at least to date. And there are a fair number of pieces that potentially could go wrong, but I guess there's always opportunity for any kind of system, especially that involves water, for having issues. So as you can see, we've got the starting to take the pieces apart. I did turn that up about, I don't know, a quarter turn there to get started. I'd say there's probably a good 50 foot-pounds, at least, maybe 60 foot-pounds that were against that joint. This one, not too much, 30-40 foot-pounds. And of course, you watched me as I rotated that nipple out. In fact, I can take the nipple out now. The corrosion on the inside made it a little difficult. So again, I have a new nipple. You can see the corrosion up close. Actually fairly significant, surprisingly. I don't think there was any risk of it actually failing, but you know, is what it is, I guess. Well, some of this Teflon material seems to have vulcanized itself to the hair. So I got a box cutter. I got this box cutter from my son. He's working with the Taliban, setting up electrical circuits out at a military base in Germany. I guess they're setting up some refugee camps. We'll clean this up. And I'm thinking about using perhaps a little heavier duty Teflon tape that's associated with gas. Not 100% sure what was used here. Your options are liquid Teflon, and I've used that before. If you have applications where you need a little lubrication, the liquid Teflon does seem to do a pretty good job. For something like this, you know, I don't think it matters. Either will work. Here you can see that gas Teflon tape. I wrapped it 3 times. You want to really put it on in the opposite direction of the way you're going to screw it in. So if you're turning it right, you want to lay the Teflon tape in the opposite direction, in a counterclockwise direction from this perspective. So we're going to go ahead and put it in. And after I do a couple other pieces, we'll give it a test and see if she can hold water. Well, it appears we completed the work. No harm, no foul. Not too big a deal. And that is the drain. If it fails, it's designed to head out to that floor drain there. Go back outside. Now for the next part. We will now begin the process of doing essentially a Munchkin service. Well, what you're looking at here is the inside of the Munchkin T80 boiler. See these deposits in the bottom? Those are the byproducts of the combustion process. This little device here, it's kind of almost a wire mesh thing. You can see there's byproducts sitting on it from the combustion process. And technically you're supposed to do this every year, clean it out. It's probably been, it may be as long as 3 years since I last did this. To release it, basically there are 6 bolts. I used an 11 millimeter socket to take off the 6 nuts actually. And to remove the 4 bolts that connected this intake, I took a 4 millimeter Allen wrench. So I released the 4 screws with the Allen wrench. And now what I'll do is actually flush this out. I may vacuum part of this out. And then you can technically push this byproduct in with water through the system. It'll go out the bottom drain like it normally does, and then out the drain fully. But to minimize the amount of junk being pushed out the drain, I'll probably just use a vacuum possibly. All right, so now you can see we've got her cleaned. Looks pretty good. This element here, this is the sensor that detects whether or not a burn is taking place, and detects whether or not, and if there's no burn, it will shut off the thing so that it doesn't continue to push gas. Looks like it cleaned up pretty good with the vacuum. Again, I will That'll actually push some water through here, all the way through the system. Under normal operation, actually, you know, it actually does generate water. The burn process generates water. The water moves through the system, and it moves a degree of these byproducts out through the drain. This plate in the back is kind of a thermal plate. Kind of protects the unit from damage. They do sell replacement parts for that. They do sell replacement parts for this igniter element, and then you can actually buy other cans here. I haven't noticed any specific damage along the lines with respect to this. Seems to age pretty well. This unit, it's been here now for 15 years. So it seems to be holding up pretty well. I have had different issues in the past. I've had some ignition issues. There are other issues associated with inadequate, if you don't have adequate ventilation. They actually put a separate bypass pipe rather than what they had originally planned. If you notice at the top there's an exhaust pipe. It goes out probably another 50 feet or so. It's possible that the system wasn't properly tuned. So, but that's what we got. Well, we've completed putting the screws back in. Again, use 11mm bolt. Probably should tweak them a little bit. I don't know what the foot-pounds are. I did tighten the screws here. Again, those were 4mm, 4mm Allen wrench. She's back together, and she's all fired up, and a little bit of work on the output, but she's all cleaned up now, so I think we'll call it a wrap.